let's ask Kim Denny Ryder, who's on here. She has a blog called Reflections of a Book Addict. Kim, you must have some question about these book galas or a question for Betsy about what it's like to be so entrenched as a renowned figure in the children's literature world.
Definitely. I feel like growing up, there was, certain book series that were, really popular. But I feel like recently, maybe within the past 8-9 years, I feel like the young adult and the children's movement has really, grown. There's all of these amazing series of books that are really, coming alive. And I'm just wondering, for you, do you see that genre growing? Do you feel like there are more children reading now than there were, 10 years ago? What are your thoughts on the genre as a whole? Do you see it,
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's a good question because, of course, until now, I think there were maybe as many kids reading, but they weren't organized. They didn't have an efficient way of finding people like themselves who loved the same books that they loved. And so there was no way for phenomenons to really grow in the same way. If there were phenomenons, they were entirely done by adults. So, Star Wars was a phenomenon, and there were people who would dress up like Star Wars characters and things like that. But it wasn't until the Internet really allowed for people to organize for books. And, of course, Harry Potter was the thing that just, set everything off. Once Harry Potter hit and that you had kids reading it, teens reading it, and adults reading it, and all interacting and having this love, that's when the publishers sort of went, what? Oh, we can do things with this. And so, of course, they were like, what's going to be the next Harry Potter? And the next Harry Potter turned out to be Lightning Thief, but it didn't quite hit as big as Harry Potter. And then the next thing that hit was Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which nobody saw coming. And then the next thing that hit was Twilight, and everyone was like, okay. And then after that, the next thing was Hunger Games. So it's been interesting to watch, because no one can predict what the next big thing is going to be, but they desperately try. There's contenders from every field coming in, and they're like, okay, if you watch them, it's very amusing because they try to start the next big thing, and it's impossible to do. So, they tried for angels for a while, and that didn't go anywhere. And so they've tried for zombies, and that didn't go anywhere. And they're now it's all about dystopian fiction because of Hunger Games, but they haven't quite figured out why Hunger Games works as well as it does. All they think is, a book takes place in the future. We will make lots of those, and that, of course, are so hugely popular. That is not the magic formula, but that is what the trend is.
It's definitely true, though. Once there's a successful series of books, all of a sudden you see this extreme outpouring of a billion things of the same genre, and usually they don't, or from what I see, I usually don't see a lot of them pick up the next series of books that becomes really popular is the exact same thing that was set prior. It's an interesting point you make.
Yeah, I mean, really the closest thing was how well Lightning Thief did, and I don't think it would have done as well without Harry Potter. But that's really the only time that a book that could be considered in the same vein as another phenomenon hit the same heights. After that, it nobody could predict it. I mean, it went from kids' journals to vampires to dystopians. And I've had a lot of people saying, okay, well, if it's going to be completely different, then I guess the next big thing is going to have to be historical or realistic fiction. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that. If you can find the next big thing there, that's awesome. But there's no way to predict it. It's always surprising what just grabs people.
Boy,
I kind of love it.
That's fascinating. No, that's fascinating. I want to give Ariel a chance to speak here. Now, Ariel Burdoff, you may have met her before or crossed paths somewhere in the New York City circles. And Ariel is actually the one who really recommended that we invite you on the podcast. And based on your answer so far, I'm very grateful to her because you've been a wonderful guest. But Ariel, just speaking as a personal friend of hers, I've yet to see any person in the world who appreciates this genre of literature more than you do. I mean, between all the books that you own and you should just see Ariel's face when she goes to a book fair. It's like you would, she was at her royal wedding or something like that. So Ariel, what do you have to say about this field? And maybe you have a comment for your maybe friend, Betsy Bird.
Well, I think Betsy, hi, by the way.
Hi.
I think you really said it all. I mean, it's crazy, like, because I've always been a reader, and, you know, it's before, like, the Internet, it was just a private thing. And when the Internet came along and you realized that you could connect with people from everywhere about these same books, because, you know, when you're in high school and you like to read, people don't actually appreciate that. And, you know, you're kind of like a big nerd and no one really talks to you in person. But when the Internet came out, you know, and when it really hit big, which was like, I guess my senior year of high school was when I started, like, realizing I could talk to people about things like Harry Potter. Like, it exploded, and now it's become a little bit more mainstream to talk about books online. Maybe not as far as I take it with Harry Potter conventions and things, but like bringing the world closer together. Like I'll post about a book on Twitter, and then like when I first read Hunger Games, I posted, "Oh, I read this new book," and like 15 people responded with, "Oh my God, I love this book," and from all different ages, from all different states, countries, and I mean, it really, like, reading has really blown up, which makes me all sorts of happy that you can have a global community with books, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, if you're the kid in your high school or middle school or college even that, you know, likes to read, and maybe that's not totally cool among, like, your friends and peers. You have a whole community that's open to you on the Internet, and it's pretty incredible, like the Nerd Fighters, and that's, yeah, no. Anyone going up against John Green, forget it.